It's live now. Is that we live?
It's live now. It's
Oh,
live
oh,
now.
oh, oh, oh. Okay,
Yeah.
watch your language.
Oh, yes. I apologize. All right. So, welcome everybody. This is Kick Ashery. We are here. It's pretty much snowy and nasty everywhere we are right now. But what is Kick Ashery? Kick Ashery is my opportunity to reach out to the people that have influenced me, whether directly or indirectly, and I get to share them with you. I get to ask them great questions. And it's basically a great conversation between a bunch of people, and it's turned into an amazing thing. Today, I have my buddy Mark Stevanus. I've been working on him since the beginning. I was like, "Hey, dude, this is what I'm doing. Get on here." And he's like, "I'm going to wait." I'm like, "You bastard." So here's Mark Stevanus. I'll let you kind of do your intro,
Okay.
and while you do your intro, I'm trying a little different format, so I'm going to be in the background. So take about 30 seconds, brother. And who are
Oh,
you and
wow.
what you
I got
do?
30 seconds. All right. Mark Stevanus. I'm here in beautiful Frederick, Maryland right now, where it is sleeting and snowing like everywhere else, I think. Who am I? Business owner. I own a couple businesses. One is Social Boss, which is a social media management company. The other one is Heavy Metal Playground, which is a very cool concept where you come in and play on heavy equipment. And I've been in business for quite a while. I started my first business in 1999, which was a part-time web development company, and I turned it full-time. And then I grew the business and ended up selling it, and moved on to the social media aspect of it into Heavy Metal Playground. And it's also, too, I go out and I do speaking gigs. My first one recently was for the positive mindset, which I'm all about. I love the whole mindset concept of what you think is what you accomplish in your life. And also, I've done many social media speaking engagements too. So, is that 30 seconds? Is that
Sure,
good?
we'll call that
Okay.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Good. We'll go with that.
All right. All right. So here's the thing. All right, guys. I gotta. So he's got a long list, and there's more to it than that, even. But here's the thing. Mark. I've told you this many times, and I'm going to say this forever. Is that, dude? You influence so many people. You purposely try to make people better than they are. You have pulled me aside many times and said, "Dude, pull your head out of your ass. Let's get going." And
Mm-hmm.
you take ideas. The thing, I think you and I get along really well. Even when we don't get along, we get along really well
Yeah, that's his
because
partnership.
yeah, exactly. We
Yeah.
sat down one day, and when you pitched this idea for this heavy metal playground,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, "Is this something we can do?" I was like, "Yeah." And even before that, when we started working on the Mud Dog runs and the throwback flicks and all those projects together, we made this pact. We're like, "Hey, listen, we're family now.
Yeah.
We're not going to get along all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But guess what? We're stuck with each other, and you're just going to have to get over it." And
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
And you have given me so many things to think about. And as a matter of fact, last night I I was talking to a good friend, and I gave her one of your anecdotes on, let's not concentrate on the end goal. Let's concentrate on the path to get there. And
Absolutely.
what I'm loving about what you're talking about right now, absolutely in love with, is because I'm not good at it, and it's something that I'm working on, is, celebrating the wins, the
Yeah.
little wins, the steps along the path. And man, I know I don't do that very
Right.
well.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah, and I get discouraged because I'm not getting the big stuff figured out. I'm
Right.
not getting that end thing done, and so I get discouraged and I get down on myself. And you're flipping that and saying, let's not, yes, shoot for that big thing,
Sure.
always work towards that, but let's not put as much weight on that
On the
as
outcome.
the
Take
process
take
to
the
get there.
attachment off the outcome.
Right.
Take the attachment off the outcome. The outcome means squat. I mean, you could set a goal to say I'm going to make $1,000 a month or $1 million this month. Who cares? It's just get the passion behind it and figure it out. And then I gave this example in the talk that I did a couple weeks ago that if you're say you're in business, you want to get 10 new clients and you only get two. Well, you're not celebrating those two because you didn't get the additional eight. And what you have to do is condition yourself to celebrate the two and then take a look at the two. How did I get those two? because then next month I can take those 2 and I can turn it into 4. But if you ignore all of that stuff, then you're focusing on the lack of. You're focusing on what did not happen, and that's where I'm a big believer of what you focus on. If you focus on the good things that are happening, the things that are moving along as things progress, or you're focusing on the lack of. And I told this story in the seminar that I did, and it's a very weird, vulnerable place to get to tell these stories. But I went through, and I won't get into great detail, but at the same time, I went through the scarcity mindset. I mean, it absolutely crushed me, and day after day after day, it just absolutely got worse. And this was just years ago, and it lasted for a very long time. And to get out of that, I had to pay attention to what I'm focusing on. I was asking all the wrong questions to myself. I was telling all the wrong stories to myself. And so these are things that you learn and that you go along with, and you just change the story that you're telling, and you change the goals, you change the way that you approach goals, you change the way you approach your whole day. And that's what I do, and that's what I'm a big believer in. And once you start doing that, you start seeing results because your mind starts focusing differently on things. And all those opportunities are there. Everything's already there. And that's a big believer, that I have, is that everything you want already exists.
Right.
It does. It already exists. The client's already there. The money's already there. Everything's already there. It's just, what are you focusing on? You're focused on not having it. Well, that's what you're going to keep focusing on.
Yeah. Why don't I? Why can't I?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? Right.
Well, questions are absolutely powerful. I mean, I love questions, and just the way that our brain works. I mean, you have to understand the whole process is that our brain and mind that loves questions. That's its job, to go get those answers. Yeah. And if you ask the wrong questions, you get the wrong answers, you get the wrong emotions attached to those answers, and then you just keep beating yourself up. You keep telling yourself everything you're doing wrong. I was doing that. My life consisted of, how come I can't make money? How come I'm not successful? Why do I do all these things and they go wrong? Yeah, and are you saying you, or are you saying in your mind?
No, I've been there too, man.
Sure. A lot of people do. And so what happens is you just say, why can't I do this, or why, what does my life suck, or why can't I make money, or whatever, and your mind goes out through your database of your life and finds all these things to bring these answers back. And it could be, hey, yeah, remember that time in the 3rd grade when you said this, or something stupid happened. And it just keeps coming back because you're asking the wrong questions. So I started changing the questions. And the questions I ask every day are, how does this get any better? How can my life get any better? And all kinds of different things like that. And your mind starts doing that. Another question I constantly ask is, why am I so lucky? Why am I lucky to have the things I have, or the life that I have, and things like that?
Gratitude
and again,
mindset.
Absolutely. And you can start conditioning your mind to go out and find the things that you're grateful for and what you're so lucky for, and things like that. And then you just gravitate toward that lifestyle.
Here you go. You're touching somebody here.
Okay, good, Karen. Yeah. Take notes. Type it into, I can't see when people type stuff in, but type that stuff in and spread that word.
Control, baby.
I know Dale won't let me control this situation. And too, now I also have to point out too, as I take a drink of my coffee.
I was waiting for it.
Hey, that tastes like a Super Bowl right there, man. I've waited forever for that. So that just sweetened the deal for 2018 of that.
It's so funny. Ubering Sunday night, taking everybody home. And of course, I was like, hey, what'd you think of the game? Who were you rooting for? And almost everybody was like, I'm rooting for anybody other than the Patriots.
There you go.
I did have one gal who was a staunch Patriots fan, and she got in, and she was somber. She wasn't pissed, but she was somber. She's like, it was a good game. They won legitimately. It was, but she's like,
yeah, it's crazy because the sports brings that out, and I love that whole thing. And I take a look, and if you look at my posts this week, especially someone like Nick Foles, quarterback for the Eagles, of everything that he went through. It's just he was going to retire, and he just lost the passion for the game, and he somehow just kind of got that back, and basically, thanks, Karen. And I'm liking Karen more and more as
Yeah,
we
yeah,
go
yeah.
along, by the
Karen's all right.
way.
Karen's all right. And she'll tell you that too. No, I'm
Yeah.
joking, Karen. Don't hate me.
But you read in those stories where Nick Foles, he could have gave up, and if he gave up, he wouldn't be experiencing. I mean, he went from basically not being on a team to being cut and on to the opportunities. That's what I always say. As we were going back to what we said a little earlier, that what you don't already have, you need to prepare for and constantly prepare for. And you take someone like a Nick Foles that just prepared to be the starter, and not only that, then he became the MVP
Hmm.
of the Super Bowl. And Tom Brady did the same thing many years ago. I mean, he has an incredible chip on his shoulder of he was not. I think he was drafted in like the seventh round, and he was absolutely just pissed off about it. And he prepared for his moment. His moment came, and they won the Super Bowl, and they've won, and on and on and on. And now he's considered the greatest of all time. And so it's just again what you do and how you prepare for life. I mean, quit thinking that things are not going to happen, and quit living like things are not happening, and start
Yeah.
living like they are happening and they come to you.
Well, and on top of that, and I want to kind of expand on your story just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
is, the other part of that is, yes, the positive mindset and expanding your opportunities and keeping your mind and heart open for those opportunities.
Right.
I couldn't tell you how many times opportunities just washed right by me because I
Sure.
wasn't ready for it. But the other part of it also is stick to itiveness, is just sheer bullheaded, rubber neck,
Tenacity. Yeah.
tenacity.
Right.
And you have a great story with Heavy Metal Playground for tenacity. You want to talk about the deck stacked against that project from the
Right.
beginning. And now you have one of only three of these companies in the
Yeah.
entire United States. And granted, it's still in the fledgling. I mean, you're still
Still
crawling.
startup. Absolutely.
It's still a
Yeah.
startup. You're still crawling.
Right.
But the success there, the win there is that it's a legitimate running, moving forward business
Right.
where everybody was saying of the real quick, tell us the cliff notes on what you were up against from the beginning of that project.
Well, the beginning, I mean, the hard part is that there were only two other companies in the whole United States doing anything like this. So when you face that, there's no blueprint. If you want to open a flower shop or a coffee shop, it's been done so many times. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can easily research it and say, this is how these people have done this, put it together, and follow this formula. There was no formula in this. And so the process of finding land, the process of finding equipment, find insurance and permits and things like that, those were all basically obstacles that had to be overcome. And through the process, yeah, I mean, no insurance company wanted to touch this, even though it's not a dangerous thing, even though it's not a bad thing for insurance. It's just basically they didn't have anything else to
No one
compare it
else has
to.
done it, so there's
Absolutely,
no
yeah,
claim.
and you go through phone call after phone call, and it's the same thing with permits locally. They didn't want to fool with it. I mean, the local Frederick government didn't want to, because no one else had anything like this. They didn't know what to make of it, so they just said no, we're not going to do this. And so you keep hearing no's, but in business and to get to the success of things, that's where, again, being a big believer in this, is that this is where a lot of people quit. These walls are put there because it's going to keep people out that don't have the tenacity to do it, that are just going to give up. And there's still many times, even things that I'm experienced this year, of things that I'm trying to do and make work, where I say, okay, this is where people would probably quit.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to recognize that all this is an obstacle, that you can overcome it. And the fact that two other companies did it, or even if you're doing something that no one else has ever done before, then you got to think bigger, and you got to look past it and go with that. I mean, you look at Elon Musk with these incredible rocket launches. Come on, no one's done that.
Yeah.
And so what blueprint did he have except to figure it out himself,
Right.
and go forward?
Well, and I want to expand on that just a little bit. Is you want to talk about, okay, so the tenacity on that side, and then keeping your eyes and ears open to opportunities
Yeah,
is another part of this story.
right.
Is that the location you're at now just worked.
Yeah.
But I love how it all came about,
Yeah, it's being at the right place at the right time.
and
And
the right people listening, because we
yeah.
were working on the Throwback Flicks project.
Mm-hmm.
which is another one of those projects where nobody else is doing it. It's something that we pulled out of our asses.
Yeah.
And was it a financial success? No. But was it a community success?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Right.
You
Gave
know,
back.
I struggled for a while with the financial downfall of that, but I had to go back and say, holy crap, still to this day, I have people asking, hey, are you going to do it again?
Sure. Right.
So real quick, guys, what Throwback Flicks was that it was basically we'd watch older movies on the big screen again, and we tied it to a nonprofit. So it was a nonprofit fundraising where we went back to a theater to watch Saving Private Ryan or Willy Wonka or The Notebook, all those kind of movies. Well, in the process of this, we were having
We were having the comedy show.
Yeah. Oh, is the comedy
The
show?
Frederick
Yeah.
Last Comic Standing.
Okay, so there's another one that no one's ever done.
Right.
You and I have this habit of doing shit nobody else is doing.
That's why I like it.
And I love it. And so we were doing a comedy show, and we were doing a media interview, and a gentleman who was working on the
arcade game.
The arcade games,
right,
was walking by as we were talking about this, and Heavy Metal Playground came up, and your marketing came up, and your social media piece of your business came up. And so Mike got a hold of the theater owner and said, who's this dude? I want to talk to him about social media.
Yeah.
And so that was an overheard thing. Right. Like a week and a half later, you call me on the phone. You're like, dude, I've got the fix for Heavy Metal Playground.
Right.
We're good.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh? And because you took advantage of the opportunity to explain more what was going on, we were loud and obnoxious enough in the lobby doing
attention.
You know, we got the attention.
Right.
Mark Loudon, the owner of the theater, was courteous enough to refer you. Click, 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 and everything worked out, and I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy because there's times where, you know, like we were trying to be in Frederick County with Heavy Metal Playground, and we kept hearing, no, you can't do this, or zoning, or all these different things that fell into place. And at some point, you know, again, you're just wanting to quit. You're just wanting to say, you know, screw this because it's not going to work. But what you have to do is just kind of like look past that obstacle and visualize and feel that, you know, this is going to open, that somehow is going to do it. I mean, there's a gentleman I follow. His name is Mike Dooley, and he does the Notes of the Universe. And his thing is quit focusing on the dreaded hows, because that's where we overthink. This is where we beat ourselves up. And you think, oh, this is how it's going to be, or you come so attached to it that basically you let go of how it's going to work out. And you just, you know, visualize that end goal. You feel that end goal is, you know, that it's already happened. And then the house, you know, you start seeing opportunities. Life will start showing opportunities, and then you have to act on those opportunities. Tony Robbins talks about massive action. You got to take massive action. And like you said a little while ago, you let opportunities go. I have too, a lot of them. When I had this scarcity mindset, I sat around and I'd be like, well, you know, things never work out for me. Things don't work out. And then all of a sudden I get an email from a client or someone's potential client, then I would ignore it. You know, because for some reason it just didn't seem like that was the answer. And, you know, I realized that these opportunities would go by. And again, you have to start conditioning yourself to start seeing those opportunities. Those opportunities are all there. Just become aware of them and then start taking action. Success in life likes action. You know, and the more action you take, and it's funny because the more action you take, any type of action, it actually gets rid of the anxiety, it gets rid of the fear, because you stop thinking of what could go wrong in these things, because you're working toward things. And the more that you do that, the more that stuff just goes away.
Absolutely. Okay. I know you're a huge Disney movie fan. Not so much. I still wanted to get you to The Notebook, but you just but okay, so there's a movie. It's not a Disney movie, but it's called Sing. So it's okay. So have you watched it?
I haven't seen it yet, but that's
okay. So what I love about that is that there's this elephant, Mina, who is a phenomenal singer, but her stage fright is crippling, is completely crippling. So the koala, McConaughey, he pulls her aside and he said, "Do you know how to get over your fear?" He's like, "Do you know how to get rid of all this?" And she's like, "No, how?" He's like, "Just sing.
Yeah,
just do the thing that you love to do, and as soon as you start doing it, the fear will melt away." And it's true. It's
Right.
true in everything that we do.
Absolutely.
We
Yep.
just have to start doing it. And it's easier said than done
Sure.
because these blocks that we put in our minds, this bullshit that we tell ourselves, because I'm freaking living proof. I mean, I've lived this more times than I can count, is so crippling. But yet at the same time, it's only us. It's only here.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah, the fear is a big thing. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a story that we tell ourselves. And the fear is basically the fear of taking those first steps.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be change. There's going to be work. There's going to be stuff. And what happens is, Tony Robbins talks about this, that our mind and our brain are way back to the caveman days of fear.
Mm-hmm.
It was fight or flight. And we've carried that DNA with us. We've carried those thoughts with us. And so basically the fear is to protect. Once you understand that your thoughts and fear and things are actually there to protect you.
Yep.
Because what it is like, okay, I'm going to do this and no one's done this before. And then your brain's going to kick in and try to defend and say, hey, you're going to, there's possibility you're going to be hurt, possibility this is going to go wrong, and things
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
And understand that that's natural state. That's just
Mm-hmm.
things that happen. And once you realize that it's there for a reason, it's just trying to protect you. You can, don't resist it. That's the whole thing too. Where a lot of people go wrong is, you say what you resist will persist. And if you go up against something, it's going to fight back. Well, that's where people go wrong with their thoughts and their fear. And so they'll fight with it and fight with it and fight with it. And it's just something I'm determined is this: we're all crazy, man. We really are. I mean, it's very simple. Us human beings, we're crazy. We're absolutely
Some
batshit
of us a little
crazy.
bit more than others.
Well, yeah, but just recognize that and recognize the way that our mind and brain works is kind of gives you knowledge and power.
Mm-hmm.
We crazy as human beings have 60,000 thoughts a day. 60,000. Now, a lot of people out there say, well, my mind's constantly going. Well, everyone's is. That's just
Mm-hmm.
how it goes. 60,000 thoughts a day. 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had the day before. So if you think about that, if you're telling a story of negativity and failure and stuff like that, you're carrying it day after day. Now, this is the story that you tell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, you started telling this story. It keeps carrying over, carrying over, carrying over. And then you're writing the story, you're producing, you're directing, and then you start acting in the story. And that's who you become. That's your self-image you've created for you. Not anyone else created it. You've created it for
Yep.
yourself. And so we do crazy things. Our ego plays tricks on us. Here's a simple example. You could be going and having just a very cool day. Everything's cool. And then all of a sudden a weird thought pops in your mind and fear comes in. Now, where we're crazy is that we produce that problem, then we forget that we produced that problem, and then we freak out because
Right.
there's a problem. And that's like coming in and putting a picture of a monster on a wall and walking out and coming in and being freaked out because there's a monster on the wall. Yeah, we did that. And the reason why all this happens is because the ego kicks in. The ego creates these problems so that the ego then can put his arm around you and say, hey, we're going to overcome this problem, and then helps overcome the problem and justifies why we need the ego. That's what
That's
it
it.
is. And you start recognizing that all this is a distraction of getting away, getting down to the root of your problems, of really working on yourself. And you start recognizing these things, and that's what I did. I started recognizing my thoughts of what I was thinking, when I was thinking. We're creatures
Mm-hmm.
of habit. You go to bed, you beat yourself up because maybe you didn't get stuff done the day or you feel like a failure, so you tell that story over and you go to sleep with it. Then you wake
Yep.
up with it, take a
Yep.
shower with it, brush teeth with it, drive with it, and then it just becomes a constant story in
Yep.
your head. And I started recognizing when I was having these thoughts I were having, how I felt from these thoughts, and just started rethinking, okay, if I lived the life that I want to live, what thoughts would I be having right now?
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting there going, holy crap, how am I going to pay this bill? Or how am I going to
Right.
do this? Or why is there a lack of this or lack of that?
Yeah.
And you start changing your story. you start changing your self-image of that, that you've created for yourself. And once you start doing that, your mind, will go down. And just like you said, you're living proof of the negativity and the way you think. I'm living proof too. I'm living proof of living with that scarcity mindset, and I'm proud to say I'm living proof of other that I've changed my mindset and work on opportunities and things like that. And I say this with all sincerity: if I can do this, anyone can do this. Seriously, I'm not a Tony Robbins, man. I'm not any of this stuff, but if I can do this, I barely made it out of high school. I failed miserably in community college. It just wasn't for me. And just everything I did, I kind of done on my own, and that's okay. And, you recognize who you are, but I go back to it. There's so many people that are way smarter than I am that have it going on, great ideas and motivation and all these different things. But if they lack the passion, they lack the drive, and they're not going to go out and work for it, and they have the wrong mindset, then they're not going to get to the level you want.
Oh,
So
absolutely, absolutely. And well, the reason you didn't make it through college is because you were a rocker, man. You're a big kid. So don't go.
I had
No,
other, yeah, I will say I had other passions, which was to play in a rock band, which I did, and it was awesome. So that was a learning experience.
but so going with I've been very active about changing my mindset as well.
Okay.
That's been one of my challenges to myself since we moved here, is to flip that script.
Sure.
And a buddy of ours, Pat, that helps us with the Mud Dog Run, he gave me a piece of advice this last race that I took to heart, and I'm still doing it. And he said, listen, as a father, he said, before you go to bed at night, count your dad wins.
Yeah.
Look at the day and look at what you did right. Because as parents, we do the same thing. God, you know what? I didn't brush his teeth right, or I yelled at her a little too hard, or
Right.
man, I didn't make a good enough lunch, or so we're always downing ourselves. We're always second guessing ourselves
Sure.
as
And
parents.
everything. Right.
And I'm a dad. I was never going to be a dad. I didn't have that paternal instinct growing up.
Right.
So I'm learning this shit as I go, right? So, but I took that to heart, his piece of advice. So every night when I go to bed, I do two things. And it's helped me sleep, man. It's helped
Yeah.
me fall asleep, is that I count my dad wins for the day. And it could have been as simple as, they spilled something and I didn't yell at them. It could be something simple as
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Nothing crazy, but I'm counting my dad wins for each of my
Absolutely.
children. And if there's multiple, I'm like, I did okay. I'm not in jail. I'm okay today. And the other thing is like you were saying, is that I count my daily personal and business wins as well.
Right.
And it's crazy, brother, because a couple of years ago, my story, I was really struggling a couple of years ago. And since I've started counting my wins, dude, I'm falling asleep better. My mind isn't racing at night.
Right.
Because like you said, I'm putting those positivities, those abundance things in my mind, and I'm not going, well, shit. I didn't.
Right.
My to-do list isn't complete, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and I didn't do this.
Yeah.
Oh, freaking well!
Right.
It is what it is. The day's done. Tomorrow's a new day.
Absolutely.
But I try and say, okay, but the things I did do today was a win. And
Right.
the other thing that I've done is, I don't know if you've ever done it. Have you done the Clifton Strength Finders? It's a Gallup
No.
poll program. So
I've heard of it though. Yeah.
I'm in love with it right now because it's helping me understand me a little bit better, because somebody needs to figure this shit out. So, but you were talking about action, and success breeds success. That's the truth of life. Success breeds success. I don't care. I don't care if it's money. I don't care if it's whatever. Success breeds success. But for me personally though, and you've seen this happen to me, is that I take on too many things at once.
Right.
I will accept too many responsibilities, and I burn out, I have overwhelm, and I don't get anything done.
Right.
And so that's something that throws me in a negative spiral like nothing else, because one of my biggest strengths is responsibility. I take responsibility for things, and I take on too much responsibility.
Right.
So when opportunities are coming up right now, I'm having to sit back and say, okay, my responsibility strength is going, yes, we could be in charge of this. We can do this. We're going to make this happen. I can now evaluate myself and say, okay, you were talking about goals and getting to where we want to go. Now I can step back and say, okay, I want to do that. I'm
Right.
capable of doing that. But is it going to be good for everything?
Exactly.
And what I'm trying to do is not use that as a closed-minded thing and just say no, no, no.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm trying to be positively evaluating everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So then that way I can say, we're going to table this or we're going to do this, and
Right.
it gives me more of an opportunity to shuffle things around.
Right.
So,
Right. And there's a couple things dealing with that. I mean, because I've done the same thing. First of all, you got to look at, yeah, I mean, can this, aid to something? You got something, going on now.
right.
Can it be, a joint effort, something like that? Or are you gravitating toward it because you're kind of, I'll just say it, into that procrastination of
Right.
like, I'm ready. This isn't going the way I want to, and it's going to take more work. So maybe I'll go over here because it'll be easier. And
Mm-hmm.
it's never easier. All this stuff is never going to be easy. That you're almost at the point of something right here, and you just got to push a little bit more. Then something comes along, and then it's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm just going to shift over to here,
Shitty
and you leave
school.
that. Yeah, and absolutely, and a lot of people have that, and they've created that self image. That's who they are,
Yeah.
and it's really not who they are. You learn to start telling yourself, I'm the person that consistently focuses on this. And once I get this stuff, and all this stuff can still be around. If I miss the opportunity, I miss the opportunity. But that's the self image that you start. That's the story you start telling yourself, and that's the same thing that's happened to me, that my focus and everything has become very, very strong, because I keep telling myself I'm that person that focuses on this stuff. I'm that person that makes these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you go from, again, the scarcity mindset of I'm not good enough, or I do this all the time, or I take too much on and I can't accomplish anything. You start telling yourself, I am this person that crushes this. I am this person that goes out and finishes these jobs, and things like that.
Yep.
And it's, again, retelling your story,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. So we're at the 30-minute mark,
Oh,
man.
wow,
I
that was
promise.
quick.
Yeah, I know it goes quick, brother. It goes quick. And so I got to tell everybody a quick story, and then I've got a question for you
Sure.
that you can either answer or not. It could be a posed question. But so Mark and I first videos Mark and I did together was for the Throwback Flicks, and we used to do this thing called Throwback Guys. And God, Mark and Juan would hate me because we'd show up at Mark's house and be like, all right, we're going to talk about movies today. We're going to talk about these movies because
Yeah.
we're promoting this thing
It's
coming
no
up.
prepping.
And Mark was like, okay, so what's the plan? What's the script? I'm like, no script, live, go. And he's like, son of a bitch. I
There
loved it.
was never a topic. There was
No.
just like, we're going to talk about this, and let's talk about this movie that the only person that watched it was Dale, you know. So we sit there and go, well, what are we supposed to say? It's
Hell?
like,
What the hell?
yeah,
I loved it. The one my favorite one was when we were in your dining room and Mom was in the
yeah,
kitchen,
yeah,
and we kept trying to get Mom to come in and be on
yes, you
video
want to
with
come
us,
in,
and
yeah.
she would yell at us from the other room,
You can
"I'm
hear
fine. You guys be good."
it. Yeah, leave me alone.
Yeah, that was funny. That was hilarious. So I started asking myself this question not too long ago, and
Okay.
I did it on my daily drive last week, and it just popped into my head. Is that there's a 3-word sentence that if you change 2 words in it, it
Uh-huh.
changes the context from a question to a statement. Is who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? But if you change 2 words, it's who I am.
Right.
I find that, and in you're a lot more woosah than I am, but what? How powerful is that to
It's
go
amazing
from
powerful.
who am I? Well, who am I? Well, to who I am.
Right.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
And I've been asking myself that question a lot. I don't have a lot of answers yet, but
Right.
real quick for like a minute or two, what's your thoughts on that paradigm shift?
Well, again, it's just it's a simple tweak. It's a simple tweak in words. I go back to the negative questions of, or what people will say. How bad their lives are. Why is my life so bad? Why these bad things happen to me, and things like that. And you don't focus. You lose focus of who you are. And I started doing that. Of you could say who am I, and the great thing, like when you ask questions, first of all, you start asking questions like that, you just do it very lightly.
Mhm.
Don't think too much about it. Just let it come. Like answers will come to you. Who am I? But then the I am is amazingly powerful. I am is just basically, you start just blurting it out. I do this every morning. I have an incredible morning routine, and I'm absolutely blessed to be able to wake up when I want to wake up and go to bed when I wake up. But it took a long time to build companies like this that I can kind of be at this place. And I have this incredible morning routine of that, I am, and I go through this, I am unstoppable. I am that person that goes and gets this stuff done. I am a person that focuses where it needs to be focused. I am prosperity. I'm happiness. I'm fulfillment and things like that. And I think, you start getting into the habit of that again. Everything's a habit. And once you start getting in the habit and conditioning yourself, it actually just flows very easily who you really are. And you feel good with that because you don't, you stop kidding yourself of who you're trying to be,
Mhm.
and things like that to who you really are. And it's amazing when you look at people. I mean, a lot of people are trying to be the Gary Vaynerchuks of the world, the Tony Robbins of the world, or Oprahs of the world, and things like that. And
Or
there's
the Mark
nothing,
Stevanuses of the
and
world.
and that happens probably once, and that was me. But what happens is too many, you start focusing on these people, and you're not really aligned with those people. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
Years ago, in that scarcity mindset, I kept thinking of, I'll be a millionaire and I'll have, fancy cars and, Mercedes and BMW, stuff like that. I drive a freaking Jeep Wrangler. You give me $1 million, I'm going to go buy a new Jeep Wrangler. That's
Right.
who I am. And I needed to get past that of, the fake I am this,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am, this type of guy. And you got to get to who you really are. Go from here to here of who
Mhm.
you are, of I am. And once you start going, these levels down, the I ams come out who you really are. And then that's who you connect
Yep.
to.
Yep. Hey, do me a favor though. When you buy that Jeep Wrangler,
Yeah.
get one where we don't have to replace the water pump every
No,
year,
no, no,
year and a
no,
half.
no. Well, I'll get warranty and maintenance on it, you know.
I'd appreciate that.
and and a new Eagles tire cover,
There you
Super
go.
Bowl Philadelphia Eagles tire
There,
cover.
there
Yeah.
you go. There you go. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother. I promised we'd keep this about a half an hour.
Yep.
About.
Yeah. About.
And
That's how we
man,
roll.
I'll tell you what, everybody, these are the kind of conversations that Mark and I have all the time. And
Yeah.
that's why I love this dude is we'll sit down, when I was living there in Frederick, we'd sit down for a business meeting, and the first half of it was us philosophizing,
Yeah.
and it was us just talking through life, and I appreciate you, man. I really do. And you have touched my life. You've spoken into my life, and you've given me opportunities. And I love our relationship because we call each other on our bullshit.
Yeah. You got to.
And that's true friendship.
Yeah.
That's true brothers
Yeah, man.
because we can tell Mark, no, dumb, not okay, and the next day we're okay
Yeah.
because that's what it's all about.
Right. And what I loved about that too, especially with the business meetings, is like you said, the beginning of the meetings, we would talk about, what we're trying to do, the goals and passion. And I think that's missing in business a lot these days because I think business, people go into meetings and they're like, you got to meet your goals, you got to do this, you got to do
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And it's not, that doesn't create that passion of why are we even doing this? Like,
Yeah.
what's the excitement behind it? And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They lose that excitement, they lose that fire. And I love having those conversations before meetings and things like that to create that fire because that gets you on the right track of a mindset
Yeah.
and connection to it. And then you go into the goals. You go into we're going to do this and this. And work is a hell of a lot easier when you come from that world as opposed to I hate what I'm doing and we
Yeah.
don't ever meet our goals and stuff like
Yep.
that. So
Absolutely. And especially with the off the wall, like crazy shit that we tend to do,
yeah.
that when we walk in, it's hard for me to explain to some people sometimes some of the businesses that we've been associated with because it's so off the wall. And
Right.
so because we choose these very difficult projects, we're walking in before we even start, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, you're making
before
shit
we
up as you go along.
and it is very difficult, and it's grinding, and it's frustrating, and it's all of these things. But you know what? When we sit down, and I'm repeating what you just said, but when we sit down, we're like, okay, this is still good.
Yeah.
This sucks. This
Right.
this sucks.
Right.
But it's good because we're still doing this, and we're still having these impacts.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you know what? I just got goosebumps just
It's
talking about
exciting.
this stuff,
Right. And
brother.
it's you can't be afraid to fail. You
Yes.
can't be afraid to fail. You got to put that aside. And again, like I said earlier, you know that failure is just what it is, and it's there for a reason. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to let the passion overcome and the excitement of it, and constantly bring that excitement day after day after day. That's the first thing you should do when you get up in the morning. Figure out how to develop that excitement and say, now I'm going to carry this throughout the
Yep.
day, no matter
Yep.
what happens.
Yep,
So
absolutely. And we're going to end on that right there because
cool.
that's
That's a good
huge,
note.
man. Brother, thank you so much.
Sure,
Everybody
man.
else, do you mind putting your contact info in the
Oh no,
comments
yeah.
when we're all
I'll hop
finished
on
here?
Facebook. Sure.
Appreciate that, brother. Everybody else, check out Mark's stuff, man. He's got some really, really cool stuff. He's working on some amazing things right now. He's just taking it to the next level. Make sure you check out Heavy Metal Playground and Social Boss and everything else that he's working on. The dude is like, he's just all over the place, and I love it. I love you, brother.
Cool.
I
Love you
really
too, man.
appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Everybody else, have a rockin' awesome day.
There
Like
you
Mark
go.
says, you're all rock stars, right? All
Absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
guys, keep smiling because somebody's going to need it.
There you
Talk
go.
to you guys soon.
Rock on.